Quad Bros, what's up, guys? Welcome back. This is going to be a fun one. This is all of the battle rating changes coming with the newest update of Enlisted, which I'm guessing is going to be out maybe next week or maybe the week after. We're not really sure yet. We don't have any concrete information. But this video is going to be a pretty nerdy one. If you guys like this kind of thing and you like, the I don't know, the deep dives into numbers and theory crafting and things like that, then this will be a great video. We're going to be talking about all that today. If you're not really into that and you kind of just want, the rough rundown, then I'll try to have a section at the end to kind of talk about the big winners and losers of this. But let's jump into it. So they've got it kind of set up here in this, by battle rating and by faction. So let's start out here. So some weapons aren't getting a change in the battle rating, but they are getting some other changes that we're going to talk about. Starting off with the RD44, which isn't having its battle rating change, but it is getting reduced dispersion, which is pretty nice. The RD44 is actually already one of the best guns in the game, especially for the Soviets. It's a very, very strong gun, massive magazine capacity, good rate of fire, decent damage. It's a really strong gun, and so it getting even better and reduced dispersion is I mean, I'm going to be making a video on this for sure. I was already considering it, making another one because it's just such a strong gun. The Fedorov is getting a damage buff, which is wild. I mean, talk about Soviet bias. I mean, just 1-to-1 right off the bat here. I mean, the Fedorov is arguably the best assault weapon in the game, right? I can't think of anything else, right, that is as good as the Fedorov, at least at high levels. I mean, maybe like lower skilled players don't use the Fedorov as much because it is harder to control than something like, say, an STG, and so maybe they're just making this damage even higher to compensate for that and to really differentiate the two, which is cool, and I think isn't really a bad change. I don't think that 10% damage is going to make this gun like substantially better. I'm not sure if there's really a break point there. But it is kind of crazy to see a buff to it, right? Because it's already such a strong gun. The AVT-40 and the AVS are both getting reduced visual recoil. That's a nice little change. I think the AVT is still a really strong gun, but has fallen, I think, kind of down compared to things like the FG-42, which recently is gotten a buff to put it in full auto all the time. The T-20 now exists. The Type High automatic now exists. So the AVT is kind of less powerful compared to those guns, so seeing a nice little buff to these is probably a good thing in my opinion. The Maxim Tokarev is seeing a nerf. Its sprint factor is going from 35 to 45. Actually, is this a nerf? Are they making you faster with this or slower with it? I think they're making you faster with it, because I think the sprint factor is how fast, like at what sprint do you go with it? And I think it's saying you sprint at 35% speed. Now you sprint at 45% speed. I think that's maybe what they're saying. It could be the other way around. Anyway, so those are those. PPD 40 is going down to BR4. That's good. SU 85 is going down to BR4. Again, great. IS1, Yak 9T. Oh, Yak 9T is going to BR3. All right, we're going to talk about that in a second. The SU-85 and the PPD-40 both going down, and the IS-1 also going down are great. The IS-1 didn't really have any business being in BR5. I think that's a pretty good change overall, especially now that we're getting BR3 separated from BR5 and things like that. So I think the IS-1 is pretty on brand there, and that's a good overall change. They just don't have like the firepower compared to something like when I think of BR5, I think of like IS-2s, King Tigers, Pershings. I don't necessarily think of something like an IS-1 that just doesn't have the firepower to really do a whole lot there. The Yak 9T, if you guys don't know, this is the Yak with a 37mm cannon on it, I believe, and it is very, very strong. So it going down to BR3 is pretty crazy. It's going to be able to take on, it can absolutely shred stuff like a Panzer IV or something like that. So that's a really fun change. That'll lead to some fun videos taking on vehicles and tanks and things like that with that. RM40 is a mortar going down. The Madsen's getting reduced horizontal recoil. That's a good change. PTRS is going down to BR1. That's interesting. Both these Mosins dropping. The AT-44 and the PPK-42. Well, the PPK is... Oh, I know. These are old event weapons. Okay, so they're seeing some buffs. If you have those, cool. The PPSH-45 Battle Pass is going to BR4. And then we can see these are also dropping. The 76 Sherman for the Soviets is dropping. I'm guessing the 76 for the Americans also probably went down then. Oh, no, it didn't. Is the 76 Sherman already BR4? Did they change that a while ago and then now they're just getting around to it here? That must be what it is. I'll have to look at that though. If that's not the case, let me know in the comments, guys. Okay, other major changes. The JU-188 is going to BR5. Good. That's a good change. It should be up there. Kurali is getting dropped to BR. Again, good. The Kurali is super outclassed by assault rifles, so I'm glad to see that dropped. Beretta M38A with the 40 round is going to BR3. Good. Again, with things like the Beretta M1 dropping down to BR2, this being in BR3 makes a lot of sense. Panzer IV-H, I actually just saw a Reddit post about this, people wanting this to be BR3, so it dropping to BR3. That's pretty good. I like to see that. I think that's, again, a good change. You compare the Panzer IV-H to something like a Sherman, right? I think it's pretty equal in a pretty straight-up fight, so that's a good change. BF-110 seeing a nerf going to BR4. Again, pretty spot on with a lot of these changes, guys. I think the BF-110 G2 is a very strong plane, does a lot of damage. That's a, good nerf there. FW-190 is going to be an absolute killer plane at BR2. IAR going up to BR2, again, a fantastic change. Very, very good. This should have, honestly, guys, I've said before, I think the IAR could be BR3 and it would still be arguably one of the best planes at its battle rating. So it going to BR2 is almost not even enough of a nerf, right? It's just such a strong plane. We've got the Panzer III in, is also getting better heat shells as opposed to removed HE, so that's good. Luftwaffe going down to BR4. Cool. Irma EMP. All these gold battle pass, old gold order guns, battle pass ones are being changed. You guys can see those all here. I don't think I'm going to talk too much about each of these individually. Most of these seem like pretty straightforward good changes, though. And then again with the premiums, looks like same thing. Good changes overall. I don't want to focus too much on premium and battle pass things just because they're not things that a lot of people have. And I don't think they're a very interesting thing to talk about, but it is nice to see some reduced recoil, faster ADS, these kind of minor changes and buffs, things like that. Reduced recoil on the Thompson, that's a great change. I really want to see more buffs to the Thompson. Oh, the 76 Sherman, sorry, here it is. I was talking about this just a second ago. Here's the 76 Sherman. I just missed it, my bad. So 76 Sherman's getting a drop to BR4, that's good. M1C Garand Sniper, this is the Sniper M1 Garand, is seeing a drop. Looks like the 50 cal, sorry, the 30 cal is also seeing a sprint factor reduction. Again, great change. Man, a lot of these are seeing just like great change. M1A1 Thompson BR2. Oh, that's such a crazy change. Yes, finally, dude. This is such a good change. I know some players who are going to be so happy to hear about this because this is a change that should have happened almost a year ago at this point, guys. I mean, when the MP40 and the Beretta M1 were dropped, there was no reason this shouldn't have been dropped as well. The M1A1 Thompson being in BR2 is going to be a fantastic change for the Allies. Really going to help them at BR2, where they are already pretty strong, but this is really just going to solidify them having a very good lineup at that BR. So, wow, what a fantastic change. That's very good, Darkflow. Good job. M10 Wolverine also seeing a drop down to BR3. Good change. You're not going to have to like be in your Wolverine and being up tiered against the King Tiger anymore where you can't do anything. Great change. I hope the Hellcat is already BR4, right? They dropped that a while ago, I think, so that's good. The M2 Hide for the Founders. This is like for like the 8 people like me that have this. Wow, getting BR1. That's crazy. M2A1 Carbine having a recoil control fix. Those of you that have this, I know people have been kind of complaining about that. SNW Rifle being dropped, Mosquito being dropped, Enfield P14 being dropped. Lots of good changes and buffs for the Allies here. The AP4C also seeing a nerf and go up to BR5 is a great change. Really needed to happen. And then we can see just buffs to Japan across the board. Reductions in the battle rating, the Type 4, the D4, the Type Otsu, B5N2. All of these are great changes overall, I think. The Otsu being BR2 is kind of weird, but I don't know what they'll end up doing with that. Honestly, I kind of want to see the Type 100 late being nerfed and being brought up to BR3, or to BR4, excuse me, because that is just such a strong gun, and I feel like would make more sense at BR4 as opposed to 3 as being kind of the best SMG for the Japanese at that battle rating, but I don't know. Yeah. Well, guys, there's a lot of changes here. I think To sum it all up, I would say that I think almost all of these are solid changes. I don't think I saw anything in here that was a truly questionable balance change or something that was like really bad. I think maybe like the Fedorov and the RD-44 might be kind of misses. I don't think these guns needed particular buffs, but they're still fine. Otherwise, good changes across the board. Weapons that needed a buff and needed to be brought down were brought down. I think the big winners from this look to be probably the allies. I think the M1A1 Thompson being dropped to BR2 is a massive change for the faction, and really is going to make BR2 even better for them. And I personally think the allies have a really strong BR2 and struggle for their player base as opposed to their actual weapons they have. So seeing an M1A1 Thompson, it's going to be it's going to be pretty solid, and it's going to be just a good change overall because it's going to be a lot of fun. The Germans also got a good change. The Panzer IV-H dropping along with the Beretta M38 is going to make their BR3 really strong, and some solid nerfs to their IAR and their early BR. Again, it's going to make, I think it's going to make early game USA feel a lot better from some of these nerfs. So really good changes across the board. What do you guys think about these? Leave a comment down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. While you're there, like and subscribe for all your Enlisted, tips, tricks, updates, all that good stuff. And without anything else, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.